What's up, everybody? Smoove Cosplay here, your favorite salsa dancing cosplayer. I got with me tonight one of my favorite photographers in all of cosplay land, a good friend of mine, Dr. Law, head man of Dr. Law's Photo Lab. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, brother. You're one of my favorite cosplayers. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, it's an honor to have you on here, man. I finally stopped procrastinating. We've been talking about this for a long, long time. Yeah, man.
Indeed, indeed.
So, with Dr. Law, when did you fall in love with, first of all, photography? When did you fall in love with photography?
Oh wow. I actually my love for photography started really young.
Hmm.
When I was a kid, in elementary school, a lot of times kids will do the whole pinhole camera thing.
Uh,
And I kind of fell in love with it then. Third grade teacher was a big photographer. She set up like a dark room in our class and all that stuff. Shout out to Mrs. Dawson. And it kind of went from there. Also, now that I've kind of been thinking about it, my father was really big into photography. He always had cameras and things like that. So I kind of was always around photography, but it wasn't until college. I took a photography class in college that I got like really, really like back into it.
hmm
And I've always loved it. I can't draw, so that's my way of like being artistic, drawing with light, which is what photography means. And then
Wow.
from there, probably about I would say like 20, like '09, something like that. Started doing like the cosplay stuff, just with a little like point and shoot, and then worked my way up from that to DSLRs and stuff like that. So part of it was just natural interest, and I think part of it is genetic from my father. So
Okay. You know, I learned something new today. Would you believe I didn't know that photography meant drawing with light? I feel like I shouldn't
hmm
have known that, but I didn't. So that I'm
yeah,
like, wow.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what photography means.
Hmm. Man, it's funny you say not being able to draw. I love drawing. Now, was I good at it? I could never draw people. I'm gonna say that much. I sucked at drawing people. So with that, I would say that I wasn't that good at it. I like doing it. Took art class a bunch of times in high school just because I was like, okay, easy A, and I can do something I like. But yeah, I wouldn't enter an art contest. Yeah, I would leave that alone.
I get it. I still do lollipop trees. Like that's how bad I
I'm
am.
with you. I'm with you. Now, what made you fall in love with cosplay photography in particular?
Well, part of it again was just scratching the itch to want to do something in photography again. The other part was, I've always loved comics. Like I've been collecting comics since I was 5.
Hmm.
So naturally, going to conventions, especially going to Dragon Con for the first time, I remember like going to the back of the Hilton Steps and just seeing so many people in costume. Like I got like so emotional. I'm like, oh my God, this is, these characters are being brought to life. So that brought me like a whole lot of joy. So just wanting to kind of capture, that first for myself, but then also seeing just how, people wanted to have their picture taken. Some photographers were, kind of snooty. Well, if you don't look a certain way, I'm not going to take a
Yeah.
picture of you. There's elements of racism in that too. So yeah, so part of it was, obviously wanting to capture that joy for myself, but then
Hmm.
also wanted to make the contribution to help photographers. Help cosplayers rather
Hmm.
look, see how wonderful they actually look.
Yeah.
And then the other part was just seeing how some photographers were super picky. If you don't look exactly like the character, I don't want a picture of you. There's elements of body shaming. There's elements
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
racism, sexism in that as well. So wanting to try to make a positive contribution to the cosplay community was kind of how I stumbled back into it
Hmm.
for all those reasons.
Okay. It's funny you mentioned, the back of the Hilton, like going there and then just being wild about all of that. Fast forward to now, I feel like I don't know if you're gonna think I'm exaggerating or not, but sometimes I feel like you run the back of the Hilton, like you got your hand in like so many different uh, uh, cosplay shoots. Like you always help me with the X-Men shoot. You're before the one that I run, which is the I think the Women of Marvel. You were doing the one after mine. Like you got your hand in a whole lot. Like tell me what that was like going from oh snap, all of this is crazy at the back of the Hilton your first time to now, like just being involved in so much back there.
Sure. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my partners in Dr. Law's photo lab.
Oh
Jeff,
yes.
Jeff, who is wonderful, a good my best friend.
Yeah.
Wonderful photographer, great compositor, and Latoya is our sister, phenomenal royalty cosplay. I know you've interviewed her before. Phenomenal cosplayer and has really grown into quite the artistic directing shoots that we're involved in. So that's been really cool to see. But just I started out just like other fans who would just come to the shoots and would kind of line up. You've seen the photographers row. And I line up just like everybody else. And then got involved after a few years with the superhero costuming forum, which Alan and a few other people started, and they're responsible for organizing the big Marvel and DC shoots. And they had a call out for photographers just to help out. So I went one year and put my hat in the ring to say, hey, if you need someone, I'm more than happy to do it. There was just a photographer who canceled and now said, hey, you're photographing the cosmic, Marvel. And I was like, all right, here I go. So that was one place to start. That was the first time I had really done it, enjoyed it, all that. So that was the first experience, I would say. Then the next time, it was the big, it's become big, but the Jedi versus Sith meetup. One year I went and just participated. It was really small. The next year, the guy who organized it, I think he forgot that he organized the meetup, and he just didn't show up.
Wow.
So one of the cosplayers who was there, our big brother Wendell Baba, just said, Leigh, why don't you just lead the shoot? And so I was like, okay. And so
here we are.
Just from there. So it was kind of like a trial, by fire, if you will. And one of the wonderful things too about Dragon Con is that there's definitely an opportunity for you to get involved. And if there's a shoot that you want to create, you can pretty much create it and just, put up your photo shoot on Facebook, add it to the spreadsheet, and people will show up and kind of come. So it's been like a gradual progression. So I want to, thank you for trusting us, to help you out with the X-Men shoot. I want to give a shout out to Lily, who does a wonderful job with the Women of Marvel shoot.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Vern, who we started the big Wakanda shoot, and we started it before the Black Panther film came out. So,
yes, yeah, I remember that.
For a while. Also want to give a shout out to Sherman and David for the Black Geeks to Dragon Con as well, which has become, quite the event for African American cosplayers at Dragon Con. And I remember when they first started, it was very, very small. So I'm just very thankful for the opportunity to really, grow and to kind of create photo shoots that people, talk about and come back to every year.
Man. Yeah, I love all everything that you got your hand in. I love the Wakanda shoot. I haven't had a chance to participate yet because I hadn't had a Wakanda themed costume yet. But next Dragon Con we have, whenever that is.
You can bring your wrestler.
That one's I was like, okay, I finally got a way in. But yeah, that one, the Black Geeks and Dragon Con shoot, I've seen, like you said, it started out small. We were at Hardy Ivy Park in those small steps.
Yep.
And now it's one of the biggest ones.
It is.
Man,
And that's really been impressive, because that's like, to me, that's the largest collection of Black cosplayers
yeah.
I've like anywhere. And I go to the convention, I go to San Diego, I go to New York, and I've been to a few other conventions. And there's no larger collection of Black cosplayers than there are there. So
Wow.
shout out again to everybody who participates in that.
Amen to that. Speaking of San Diego Comic Con, New York Comic Con, I've seen you go to those, have some panels there. But what are your experiences there at those two? I know there's a Dragon Con has that party, big cosplay costume party vibe, but those other ones kind of bring a little something different. Can you talk about the differences there and what and your experiences there?
Yeah. That's a very good question. I would say they all have. They're all definitely, conventions, but they all have different flavors to them, if you will. So I will say, I would say San Diego Comic Con, obviously, that's like the biggest and the most known convention probably in the world, as far as comics related media. That's where all the news breaks. That's where all the announcements, the sizzle reels, the cool swaggy giveaways usually happen. Cosplay is there. I would say it's not as cosplay heavy as Dragon Con, and in my opinion, the cosplay is not as good as it is at Dragon Con. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, but I would say there, San Diego Comic Con is an experience unlike anything else. There's just as many things that are going on panel-wise as there are different experiences that you can walk into. So, for example, I was able to see all the Batmobiles that were ever made.
Wow.
Yeah, like that was, yeah, that was cool. Everything up until the Tumbler I got to see, like, and put hands on.
Wow.
That was really cool. Just getting the opportunity to come on stage, at some of the signings. Like I got a chance to meet like Chadwick Boseman twice, met Letitia Wright, just a lot of different people. Met Ric Flair actually.
Wow.
Like, yeah, that was really very cool and very interesting. The other thing about that particular convention too is that you can actually bump into celebrities depending on what hotel you're in. So, for example, I just happened to bump into Linda Hamilton from the Terminator films.
Yeah, I remember seeing that picture of you. That I was like, wow, that.
Yeah, yeah. That was totally random. As I was getting ready to go to Hall H to actually see Saturday Hall H panel, which she was actually on. And she gave me a hug and said, gotta go get my makeup. And then I saw her later at the panel. Oh, that's the other thing too. So in terms of lines, like I have done the thing where I met a crew of people, Jeremy, Pekka, I know I'm forgetting somebody, Trevor, Trevor, and a few others. We kind of have formed a bond, and we have done Hall H, which is, like geek nirvana, if you will. Saturday Hall H is where Warner Brothers, it's where HBO, it's where Marvel and Disney, just where everybody makes their hottest announcements and shows like the first trailers, right? So I was actually able to experience that. Like people camped out overnight. Like it's an intense kind of thing, but like once you're in, right? So I've been fortunate enough to be in the room, like with the Black Panther cast, with the cast of Thor, and just being able to see like the footage from Infinity War. Like we were some of the first people to actually see that. We saw like the Top Gun trailer one year, but it's just it's so wonderful. Just in terms of being able to see things first, buy like exclusive, figures. Like Transformers, like some of you guys, I'll tell you, okay, I see this, I know you like this, do you want this? Like sort of thing. So you get a lot of just exclusive sort of things. And to an extent, New York Comic Con is a lot the same way. Okay. It's probably not as like off-site and like media heavy as or other media heavy as San Diego is.
It really is more comic book based. So your bigger, you know, publishers are there, your indie publishers are there as well, and it's a lot less about other types of media, but this is more about the printed comic book.
Gotcha.
So you'll have a lot of like releases of new, you know, story arcs or plans for the future. You'll get to meet creators. You can do a lot of cast signings. There are really cool like things that you can do off site. Like last year at New York Comic Con, DC had a headquarters where they literally rented out like the 3 stories of this building. And on each floor they had a different, you know, sections. So you could go and hear like Jimmy Palamonte talk about the Harley Quinn series. You could watch Jim Leigh like airbrushing a mural onto a wall. Yeah, like that was like super cool. One of the most interesting things about New York Comic Con is that they really recognize the place of cosplay.
Okay.
So there's a whole cosplay area.
Oh, wow.
Where there's cosplay panels, where we were able to do a panel last year, me and Jeff Boyd, Chris, Jabbar, and Moises, as well as Natasha, were able to do a panel, and then they have sets up there where you can actually start to do your cosplay photography like right then and there.
Oh.
Yeah. It is really, really, you know, awesome, and I would highly recommend it.
Okay.
In terms of each one has their own issues about how is your con experience going to be. Of course, with San Diego Comic Con, it's super hard to get tickets. I think they say that there's like, unless you have a panel or you're an industry professional, you only have a 5% chance of getting a ticket in general lottery. Yeah, only 5%. And shout out to, you know, my friends who were able to get me a ticket this year. And shout out to one of my brothers, Urias from Black Heroes Matter, who was able to secure me a ticket several years as well. And then the hotel thing is not usually as bad. Now, we both know that with Dragon Con, the hotel is the issue. Getting a ticket is not the problem. You know, Dragon Con will never run out of tickets. They'll never stop selling them. But getting that hotel room that's really close is a whole another matter. You know?
Would it be safe to say the hotel situation for Dragon Con is parallel to the ticket situation at San Diego Comic Con?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a great parallel.
Wow.
And I would say the hotel situation can be difficult at New York Comic Con in terms of just like New York pricing, but there is a lot of availability. And, you know, let's just be honest, most people know somebody who lives in New York.
Right.
So a lot of people just crash with their friend and they ride like the subway, you know, in every day. So there's always that option. So I would say that New York Comic Con is kind of a mix of Dragon Con and San Diego. Dragon Con is more, you know, obviously fan run, more party friendly. Not that there are parties that don't happen, you know, at New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con, but a lot of times they're like industry parties. And I've actually got a chance to go to an industry party one time. At San Diego Comic Con, I can tell you stories about that. That was a very surreal, you know, experience, being close to, you know, like, you know, Seth MacFarlane and you know, just a lot of people, and they were really cool and down to earth. I guess they thought maybe I was famous or something. I don't know. It was a cool experience though. If you can, I would definitely say go to one of the bigger conventions. Just cross it off your bucket list before you go, for sure. The two I do want to go to are C2E2, and I do want to go to Emerald City. Those are two that I haven't been to yet.
Gotcha. C2E2, that's Chicago, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely want to do all of those, like you said, like kind of like a bucket list thing, just to say I did it. The thing that kind of deters me from San Diego Comic Con with like you said, the whole the ticket thing, because I think I got spoiled by the salsa congresses I would go to back when I was heavy, you know, with I still dance obviously, but back when I used to go to salsa conventions as opposed to comic conventions, like there was never a ticket or a hotel issue. Like you could I mean, if you buy your tickets late, of course they're more expensive. If you get your hotel late, it's more expensive. But like, there was never a possibility of not getting them, and you didn't have to put down the deposit for the hotel. I get a Dragon Con, of course, tickets not an issue, but like you said, the hotels. I'm like, what is this raffle thing? And like people having to like virtually camp out, like be on their computer right at that time and hope their connection doesn't drop, hope the bandwidth doesn't come out, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, man, I'm gonna just find somebody that got a room. Hey bro, you got a room? You got room? Can I get in?
Right.
But yeah, so I'm gonna make it happen at some point, but that's I think that's what's held me back so far, just not wanting to deal with the rigmarole of all of that. Now, Dr. Law, I knew you for a couple of years before I really grasped the significance of your name.
Mm-hmm.
So you are when I like you said, I interviewed Latoya about a couple of years ago, and I found out through her that you are literally a doctor. So I was like,
I am.
And then the LAWs, of course, your initials. At first, I thought it was like a play on like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. I'm like, oh, this man is literally a doctor. So I'm gonna ask this next question because, as you've seen before, I like helping kill that stereotype of us geeks. People think that we all are basement dwellers, mother's basement dwellers at that don't have jobs and don't have hygiene. So I'm trying to help people realize that yes, there are some that fit that stereotype, but there are so many more of us that don't. We got careers and families and all of that. So what did you study in your path to become a doctor?
Sure. Okay. So I am a medical sociologist, and that's what my PhD is in, medical sociology. And I also have a master's in public health. So that's where, and like you said, Leigh Andrew Willis is my full legal name.
Okay.
So that's why I am actually Dr. Law.
He is literally Dr. Law.
Right. And a lot of people, they're like, what's your name? I'm like, Dr. Law. And they're like, no, really, what's your name? And I'm like, Dr. Law. I'm Dr. Leigh Andrew Willis.
Some respect for my name. I'm a doctor.
But it's just, it's one of those things. But yeah, I agree. There is this stereotype that, people who are into this hobby have no social skills. Like you said, basement dwellers. We're like comic book guy on The Simpsons. But
yeah,
I found that we're a pretty diverse, collection of people. Like, you being a Salsero, everybody has things that make them different.
Yeah.
And it's just my thing is I just work in public health. That's my hobby, and this stuff I feel like is like my real passion and pastime, if you will.
There you go.
I'm a behavioral scientist in my spare time.
I'm with you on that. Like, you got one job, one thing that pays the bills, so that way you can go do your other stuff in your free time. Like, this is what really makes me happy. This keeps me alive. This keeps me happy, right? So keeping with that thing, I know you're a happily married man and a happy father. And a lot of people seem to think that those of us who are married and got kids, they'll say, how do you have time for these things? How do you have time for, fill in the blank with whatever geeky thing you do? How do you balance all of that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And like you said, it really is a balance, because my wife is not necessarily, into the whole comic, stuff, our world.
Right.
She's like, as my nephew coined the term, she's a norm. And that's totally okay. Like, she's just not in our world. I mean, she's come to Dragon Con and she's seen it. Yeah. So she knows kind of what it's about. So It's not a foreign concept. But in terms of balance, just finding those times, like, certain weekends, like when I first got married, I told my wife, I was like, look, I'm just going to tell you up front, every Labor Day weekend, unless it's death or birth, I'm going to be at Dragon Con. Like, I'm just telling you that. Like, I don't really, have any other requirements, but I just need that time. So, but with that being said, just taking care of your responsibilities as a husband and as a father, and then fitting those, your other activities in. And I think part of it is that your partner or your spouse will recognize that you do need to have time to do, your hobbies.
Yeah.
You will. And then the nice thing, and I see you doing this, is that you are slowly introducing your daughter into things. And that's kind of what I'm doing, like with my daughter, just because she wants to hang out with me in the man cave. It's kind of funny because I do have a man cave, and she put her little Minnie Mouse couch in there so she can sit in there and like watch me play video games, or we'll watch shows. And she loves Baby Yoda. And she asks just like a lot of questions. Like, and just randomly, she'll just say things. Like, she'll just say, Dad, tell me the names of the Thundercats again. And I'm like, what? And maybe we just have had a conversation about that just randomly one day, but she'll just remember that. But I do think that it is a delicate balance, work, family responsibilities, but then you do have to have time for yourself in order to, make sure that you keep yourself going as well.
Yeah.
And have a way of release. But obviously you don't want to do it, too much, because then if things get out of balance, what they say, happy wife, happy life, sort of thing. Yeah. And you don't want to neglect your other responsibilities. So it's all about, finding time and making sure that you have conversations with your spouse or partner, about that as well.
Yeah. I think all of what you said is solid advice. Like, I would, like to push that out to everybody. If you plan on having a family, or if you already have a family, you're trying to figure this out. Like you said, you gotta take care of home first, take care of the responsibilities first. Like, and as long as you have somebody who's understanding, like some of us have bad luck and we end up with somebody who's not going to understand, period. Like, I know people who, their spouse or their significant other just hates video games, period. So the moment you pick up the sticks, that equals playing all day. You might, so other than people who end up with somebody like that, as long as they respect your hobby and as long as you take care of everything else, you're not going to have a problem with, getting time to do what you like doing, just as long as, you don't, priorities basically, it's simple in concept, like it's not hard to understand, but sometimes it might be hard in practice and hard in integrating. But yeah, that's, as long as you prioritize properly, you won't have much of a problem.
Yeah, and I do think that it's something that you have to be conscious about.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you may run the risk of neglecting, something.
Yeah.
That could be, very, very disastrous, to say the least.
Yeah, it could be like that. Yeah. I got what was I thinking of? Oh, I know you and a couple of other friends of ours have this wonderful podcast, Stuff We Like, Stuff We Hate. Tell me how that came about. What inspired y'all to put that together?
You know what? It's really funny. Yeah. So the Stuff We Like, Stuff We Hate podcast really just came out of lunch conversations that myself, Dwight Dunbar, known as the Archangel David, and Maurice Bass, known as Big Mo B, that we used to have over lunch. We used to go to lunch periodically, and we would just have these conversations. Like one time, we had a conversation about who would win between the Vex, who are kind of organic cybernetic villains in the game Destiny, versus the Daleks from Doctor Who. And it was a whole conversation over lunch about that. And we had several conversations like that. And I was like, you know what, guys? This would be a really good podcast, because I know other people are like, who are into this stuff, are having some of these sort of same conversations about different things. So we just decided to do it, like maybe about a year or two ago, we just started it, and we're getting better about it. Obviously COVID put a dent in it, so we couldn't really do it live anymore. We don't do it in person, rather. Right. We still do it live, but we do it over this Zoom platform. But it's been a great way for us to kind of release. And the reason why we call it Stuff That We Like and Stuff That We Hate is because we would talk about things that we really, really liked in our world, be it video games, be it collectibles, be it comics, be it movies and things like that. And then we would talk about things that we just didn't like, and we would just rant about it. You know, shout out to my man Dwight. Dwight is always good for a good, you know, rant. Although I have ranted a few times on the podcast as well. And it's a lot of fun because we really don't have a format. It's just everybody just comes in and we talk about, you know, what your likes are, what your hates are for the weeks. And if you don't have any likes, you don't have any likes. You don't have any hates, you don't have any hates. But it's really totally unscripted, and it's totally by the seat of the pants. And it's been a lot of fun. And one of the cool things about it is that, you know, I was talking to one of our other friends, Mo, who I mentioned earlier. He was telling me that he really likes listening to the podcast because it kind of fills the gap of, you know, the kind of the conversations that you would have at a convention.
Right.
And I didn't really realize that, but I think he was definitely right with that. So yeah, shout out to Bass and Dwight. And we've been joined by Damian Allen, who was a guest on our podcast. And we were like, you know what? You should just do this podcast with us. So we have to have you on there, you know, pretty soon. As we have different segments, like, you know, I'm into the Funko Pops, comics and certain things, whereas, you know, Damien's into like the figures, Dwight's into the statues, Bass is really into like the comics and the horror films and stuff like that. So everybody has like a particular body of knowledge, and we do overlap, but in many ways we dovetail, you know, our likes and dislikes with each other. And a few times we've had full-blown arguments on the podcast. Like, I think one of my favorite ones was where we were arguing about whether or not Mega Man is a vigilante or if he is a hero. And I had to be the judge. And Dwight was arguing that no, there's nothing wrong with what Mega Man is doing. And, you know, Maurice was arguing about how Mega Man is a turncoat and he's just nothing more than a vigilante. He's a criminal. And it's a very compelling argument. And we spent an hour just going down the line about that. And it was really good. It was very good.
So this actually got on the podcast once.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to find that one because I never would have thought of Mega Man as a vigilante. So I'm like, wow.
Yep.
That's
yeah. It's a lot to think about. And so we break things down to that like really practical level. It was amazing.
Wow. So I will play a little stuff we like, stuff we hate with a few more questions here. Tell me some things you like and hate about the current state of cosplay photography. I know you touched on a little bit already, but what do you like and hate about cosplay photography right now?
Yeah, I don't like people who will only take pictures of those people who are quote unquote canon.
Yeah.
You know, they have the same body, the same, you know, race, same gender as the character that they're cosplaying. So they're against like Rule 63s. They're against people of different races, you know, cosplaying different characters and things like that. So I definitely am not, you know, I'm not into that. I do not like that. Unfortunately, it happens. It doesn't really happen, you know, all the time, but I have seen that happen where, you know, people will say, I need you to get out of this picture. I only want people who are canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I've actually seen that.
I've heard about that. That's, yeah. Because I get the whole, the only time, like, I would never tell somebody to get out the picture. Now, I will say it annoys me sometimes if I see, like, say if I see a picture of you and your dope cosplay and I say, hey, can I get a picture of you? And you grab this person from like 15 yards away. And I'm like, I only asked for a picture. Like that kind of knows, like, I'll still take the picture anyway. But I would never tell somebody get out the picture. And like you said, I've heard those horror stories way too many times. I'm just like, way to like kill that person's vibe, like that.
Yeah.
You just don't do that. What's some things you like and hate about the cosplay community itself? Or maybe I need to put community, because I've seen a lot of people lately say that they think it's not actually a community. But yeah, that's
yeah. I have I've just seen it change like over the years. I think people once I think, you know, I guess clout and money got into things. A lot of things started to change. I think that people need to remember why they're doing it. They're doing it for the love.
Right.
On some very base level. I'm not saying that, you know, people shouldn't, you know, make money off their talent and skills. But I think that there's this kind of this clout chasing hierarchy that started to kind of emerge. And I think that it's kind of damaging to people who are just trying to come in, you know, to the hobby and get started. It can be a real, turnoff for folks, I would say. And then I would say part of it, I think, too, has to do with not really wanting to be humble when you're coming into this new community. There's a lot to learn, you know, from the cosplay side, from behind the lens. There's a lot to learn, and I think sometimes people don't want to necessarily take the time to really learn. Yeah. You know, skills, characters, cultivating relationships with people. Yeah. Because I think that that's one of the nicer things in Atlanta. I think that we have a really good cosplay community. For the most part, everybody gets along. Yeah. Everybody knows each other. Everybody kind of helps for the most part in a way that I have not seen in other places, at least consistently. Yeah, that's been one of the things that I really have kind of, you know, liked about it. And the other thing is just seeing people grow in terms of their cosplay confidence and their personal confidence as well. Because there's been a lot of cosplayers that I've been shooting them, you know, pretty early on since they've started, and they've just really have emerged. And I think that this is the other thing. And this is one thing that people don't realize. A lot of photographers, I'm talking to you, okay, right now. Your camera is more than just that particular kind of mechanical device. It's more than just a means of just capturing a moment. It's also a therapy device. If you're doing your job right, when you take that picture and you show it to that person, I have seen people just flip out and lose their mind. Like, oh my God, I didn't know that I looked like that. Or like, I can tell someone that they're amazing, but until they actually see that photograph, they may not think that they're amazing. So you are a self-esteem builder, as well, you know? And I think that that's something that maybe photographers don't always think about, is that you are helping build people's self-esteem and affirming them as well.
Yeah. Wow,
I'll get off my soapbox.
No. Stay on it. That I need to like frame that and put it on a refrigerator or a wall or something somewhere. Like that needs to be a tweet, a meme. Like, can you get on a bullhorn and broadcast that across all cosplay them? Because I'm like, that hit me here, right? Because just to see how, and it's funny when you say, you know, self-esteem build or like that. I've always felt like cosplay can be like that for people. Like I've seen people go from super down on themselves, go from just not thinking highly of themselves at all, and cosplay kind of builds up their self-esteem, builds up their ego in a good way. You know, some of us need some ego reform, some ego rehab, you know what I mean? Because like some of us, we just really had crappy self-esteem. Now, some people take it and go the other extreme and they get big-headed, but you know, it does help people think better about themselves. Like people are all of a sudden, I've seen us also do that too. Like I remember I had a friend who, she was super like shy and sheepish when I first met her. And then all of a sudden, like every time I see her, like she walk in the room, it's like, dang girl, like, so cosplay can do that for you, and right, and you know, cosplay for like we do that too. Like I'll look at pictures, like I don't think, you know, I might not think it looks that good, and all of a sudden I see that the picture back, I'm like, okay, yeah, right. So yeah, like you said, photographers can have a huge effect either way. You know, if you just say, okay, cool, I got you, or okay, now look at it. like you can make a huge difference. And like I feel like I knew that, but until you said it the way you said it, did I really grasp how important that is.
And I definitely have seen that over, my time, is that it definitely is something that can help people.
Yeah.
It's also your job to help coach people up, because when people get started, they don't necessarily know how to pose. And,
right.
It may feel silly about doing certain things, and it's kind of your job. It's like you're the director, so you have to kind of tell them, or at least help them out and give them guidance about what to do, so it'll come across like in the photos, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, not just like the device is more than just something that takes pictures. The photographer is more than just someone who takes pictures. I remember my first shoot, I did that with shout out to Nikki over at Geek Behind the Lens Photography. Like, I went into it not knowing how I wanted to pose, not knowing what I wanted to do, but knowing that she had stuff in mind, knowing that she had locations in mind based on what my costume was. She's like, you're wearing blue for your Django Fett. Let me get you in front of that big water. It wasn't a waterfall. That's all I can think of. That waterfall thing in front of the Marriott. And like, that's one of my favorite pictures now. Like, it had the blue light against my costume. Like, yeah, right. So like, learning from her every shoot now, I'm like, what locations do I want? Let me look up what my character would do so I can figure out what the poses are. So like, I say that to say a good photographer doesn't just take the pictures. They're able, like you said, to coach somebody through what they want to do. Like, if you got somebody who's never done it before, you don't want to be like, oh, well, what are your poses? Do your thing. Like, that would be really dejecting. So I'm like, yeah, it's more than just snapping that picture. That camera is more than just the device. I'm gonna hit you with something. I was listening to one of your recent podcasts, and I think we got the same likes and hates about a particular thing. And I just did a video on this myself. Stuff you like and stuff you hate about the now dead Fox X-Men franchise.
Stuff that I liked about it, I actually liked certain moments and certain films. Probably the whole film, the only whole film that I really liked was First Class.
Yeah, same.
And it's like, I guess, the most non-canon of kind of all of them. But I loved it. I thought that it was just a good film. If you turn off all your comic book knowledge or whatever, and just watch it as a film, it's a really good film, right? I liked, what was another thing that I liked? I actually liked the Sentinels in Days Futures Past. I thought they were cool. And I contend that the best comic book sequence of a character using their powers is Nightcrawler in the White House.
Yes.
That's one of my that's one of my favorite scenes. I was thinking about that the other day. Even the way, like, if you've read X-Men comics for years, and I know that you have, but the sound or the onomatopoeia that they do when he teleports.
Yes.
Yeah, what's it, BAMF or whatever?
Right.
And I was like, you never really knew what that would actually sound like. But when the movie came out and he did it, I'm like, oh my God, that's totally how I kind of heard it in my head. So I thought that was good. I thought Cyclops was underutilized. I hate how they keep trying to tell how they kept trying to tell the Phoenix story. That's not one that can be done in one movie.
No, it needs to be a whole MCU phase. Like her and Apocalypse, they all have to be. They have to have their whole phases in order to do it correctly.
I totally agree with that. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, I did like the Wolverine portrayal. I did like, since it kind of plugs in, I did like Deadpool. Like the way he did Deadpool was really good. I'm trying to think of what else. And let me say this, for the time, they were actually really good, because, at the time that the first X-Men film came out, there weren't, outside of Spider-Man, there wasn't really a whole lot of good comic book movies that were coming out.
Yeah.
Like probably the exception would be Spider-Man and would have been Blade. Those would have been the best, like, at that point. And Blade still holds up, and so does, the original first two Spider-Man films. But I would say that they haven't necessarily worn, very well. At least the original trilogy. It's kind of cringy at points,
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it's funny when I watched the first Avengers, like I was excited and pissed off at the same time.
Yeah.
And of course, at the time I didn't understand the whole movie rights thing. So I'm like, I'm already wondering why there was never any crossover. But I'm like, this is what I was supposed to get with X-Men.
Right.
But yeah, but that was the only pissed off at this part. The rest of it was like, as soon as I walked out the theater, I'm like, this needs to be on Blu-ray tomorrow. I need to have this now.
Yeah.
Let me see. Stuff you like. I know I might have to dig a little deeper on this one. Stuff you like and stuff you hate about the recent Marvel announcements for MCU specifically.
Okay. I did not like the fact that they are not going to recast Black Panther. That would be the biggest one that I like.
Yeah.
Like, just because there are so many stories
right
that T'Challa has, and obviously he was going to have a whole arc and not just be important in his films. I remember them saying that pretty much the Avengers was going to be based around him and Captain Marvel, pretty much, going forward. So that just puts a huge, hole just in my heart. Like I was like, oh God, Feige, you're killing me.
Right.
Yeah. And personally, I don't think that Chadwick would want the character not to be recast. I think that he understood the importance of the character. So shout out to him, rest in power. I'm trying to think of, I pretty much liked, everything that they announced. I thought that it was really, really, really good. I wasn't expecting for them to say, as much as they did. I really loved, and I know as a Dragon Con cosplayer, you'll love this too. I love the part in the Loki trailer where you see the Marriott.
Yes. I saw that. I was like, "Is that?"
Yeah. I was like, "Oh my God!" And then it's the inside of the elevator too. I was like, "Oh my God." Yeah. That had me pumped. That really did have me pumped. So I didn't really have any qualms about any of that. I was really pumped about the Star Wars stuff. Star Wars, like Marvel was high, but I was really, really high on the Star Wars announcements that they made. Like I was like, oh my God, this is Nirvana.
Man, I want to hit on Mandalorian with you, but unfortunately, a friend of mine had Disney Plus, and they let us, mooch off of it, and their subscription cut off right after. The last thing I saw was the episode that made everybody want to cancel Baby Yoda, with Baby Yoda eating the eggs and all of that. So I haven't seen anything since that. Like I know certain things have happened, but I haven't seen it. So once I get caught up, I think in January we're probably going to get it ourselves and tell our friend, hey, you can reach off us now. But once I get in there, me and you're gonna have to chat on that. But I was like, I want to talk about it, but I can't. But I will agree with you on T'Challa. Like now, before anybody jumps on us, I trust the MCU. I trust Kevin Feige. I trust that they're going to do something great with it. I don't know what direction they're going to go. I don't know who's going to be the next Black Panther. Like if it ends up being Shuri, like I know what happens in the comics. I'd be cool with it. I do think it would have been too early because like you said, T'Challa, like there's so much more of his story to tell, and he's been snapped away for longer than he's been king at this point. He's been snapped away for 5 years, only been king for 2, and now he's dead. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. And and for Shuri, I want to see her become Black Panther in a way that honors her. Like I don't want to see it just shoved in. Oh, Chadwick's dead. Let's just put her in there. I feel like that does a disservice to her, because either it's going to be there's some montage in the beginning that shows, oh, this is why she's Black Panther because T'Challa died. And like, first of all, like just putting that on as an off-screen thing, and then just having her automatically be, you know, Queen and Black Panther at the beginning. I'm like, we need to see that development for her. We need to, like, she needs to fully shine. And I feel like now they may not even do that for this movie, but that's just what I came up with, you know. So I want to see her get her time and have it and shine and flex and flaunt and all of that. And I just don't think that would happen if she's automatically Black Panther at the beginning of this movie. But just, yeah, like you said, and he's not bigger than Black Panther. I love him to death. He does amazing work. I'm sad to see him gone. I can't see, I mean, as much as I wanted him recast, I also can't see anybody else being him. So it's a little, like, I just have to be like, look, you're the new Black Panther. I'm not gonna give you a hard time. You ain't no Chadwick, but I'm not gonna give you a hard time. But he's still not bigger than Black Panther. Black Panther existed before, T'Challa specifically existed before him, and he'll continue to be bigger than him. So I'm like, why is it a dishonor to have him recast after he passed? Why does it have to leave with him?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. When people don't realize, like, there's at least a film precedent, like with the whole Batman thing.
Right.
The Michael Keaton Batman goes all the way up to you know, Clooney and Val Kilmer. That's the same Batman. People don't realize that.
Yeah, that was the same universe.
Yeah,
that was the same universe. Yeah, what was
reboot with Christian Bale?
Yeah, Keaton for 2 movies, then Kilmer, then Clooney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm like, I mean, Bond, and all the time Bond been different people. Like that, those weren't reboots. Those were all still. So it wasn't the same person, but it was the same.
Then I'm gonna do you one better. Even the Superman Returns, Brandon Routh is still supposed to be the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Wow.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, they actually make reference of that, but that is still in that timeline. Wow. So technically that would be Superman, 5? Superman Returns?
Yeah.
Like that series. I do have a theory about how they could do the whole Shuri thing that would even with the comics. So me and Vern were talking about this. Shout out to Vern. So in Endgame, when the different Avengers, I guess, were checking in with Black Widow, Okoye says there's been seismic activity in the ocean, right? So that could mean one of two things, right? So we know we've gotten the Fantastic Four back. I'm not sure if Namor has actually come back yet or not, right? But like, let's say he has come back. We know that in the comics, when Atlantis attacks Wakanda, it's actually Shuri who fights Namor. It's not T'Challa, because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she actually ends up fighting. She ends up fighting Namor because T'Challa was actually hurt, so he wasn't able to function as the Black Panther at that point. So yes, I mean they could slowly walk it up to where at the end of the film, Namor attacks, and Black Panther 3, it's him versus Shuri or something like that. It's possible. Okay.
I mean, I think you sold me already. I'm like, because I'm sitting here looking forward to T'Challa versus Namor, but to hear that happened that way. Now is this before A versus X or just outside of A versus X, basically? Because I know that happened.
This is I believe it's before. Let me just double check. Thank God we got the internet.
Right.
Thank God we got the internet.
How do we ever get by without it?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yep. Yeah, they do fight. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I guess we can fact check it later, but I believe what I said was right.
You just reminded me, I cashed in, I know you posted a while back. This was right after Chadwick's tragic passing. Comixology did that whole sale where like a whole bunch of Black Panther comics were free. So I'm like, I don't remember how many I got, but it's a crap ton that I got on my Amazon Fire now. After I get done reading all the Dawn of X, I don't have all of it, but I have like volumes 1 through like 7 or 8. Once I get done with that, I'm taking this deep dive into Black Panther, starting from I don't know if it's from the very beginning, but I'm going as far back as I can and working my way up. So I'm like, I need to get all of this.
I would start. I mean, I would go back to me. Could obviously read the first, Fantastic Four.
Right.
I think you can jump to some of the Avengers stuff.
Okay.
First shows up in Avengers 52. And then I would go to like the Don McGregor stuff.
Okay.
Where Don McGregor actually lays the foundation for what we know, for the Wakanda that we know. He's the one that created like Killmonger, for example.
Okay.
So I would jump to that. I would read that, and then Christopher Priest's run builds off of what Don McGregor did, actually.
Okay.
So he expands, and he's the one who creates the Dora, like all that stuff. And then Hudlin comes right after that, and then creates, Shuri. So I would read probably. Yeah, that'll be a good little bit to read,
okay.
I would think. Then, of course, the Coates stuff follows, like all of that. But the Coates, I have my feeling about the Coates run. That's one of the things that I hate. I do not like the Coates run.
Gotcha. Oh, Ta-Nehisi Coates?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know why I heard Coates. I thought like Colt, like C-O-L-T, like the football team, but no. But once I realized what you were talking about, I was like, oh, I remember some people saying something about how like he did something with Wakanda about how I forget what it was, but it was something about how he changed something in Wakanda's history, and people were up in arms about it or something like that. I have to. At the time, I knew what it meant, and it pissed me off, but I can't remember what it is now. I don't know why.
Well, a lot of what he did in his run was, well, at least in the very beginning, he almost made Wakanda like a kind of like a third world war torn kind of country, where as before, like the Wakanda society was tight. I mean, you didn't necessarily have, people had their issues and gripes, but it wasn't like the country was just completely just jacked up, where you had warlords running wild and doing all kinds of stuff, and the Panther Clan did nothing about it.
Yeah,
so it was just, for a long-term reader like myself, I was just taken aback, and it was just totally off kilter. And it seemed like T'Challa was very inept, where he had never really been depicted as, inept before. Like maybe he did have self-doubts, but he wasn't outward about it, and people didn't challenge him in that manner. So I mean, yeah, that's I could go on for days about it, but I won't.
Cool. All right, before we get out of here, you got anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you want to promote? Any shout outs you want to give? Anything like that?
I just want to first I want to thank you for having me on and allowing me to talk. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Glad to
you're totally grown to be a respected, leader in the cosplay community, not just
here, man. Thank you.
But I think across the country and worldwide, like for real. Respect you as a father who's bringing your daughter up into this, and as a husband and one who does all these things to balance, and just doing this whole series, I think is really great too. Keeping you motivated and keeping you, connected to all this stuff, especially while we're not able to really do anything right now because of COVID. But first, want to give a shout out to all the Atlanta crew, the cosplay family, my Dr. Lost Photo Lab folks. Want to give a shout out to Jeff and Toya, the Cosplayer Big crew, my brothers on the podcast. Give a shout out to Tanya Woods. Give a shout out to Tony Cade, Robert, my Black Heroes Matter folks. Just everybody, Randy, Deanna, all the Wakandan Council, you know who you are. All the people who I work with at Dragon Con, my co-organizers of the Jedi vs. Sith shoot, Tyler and Steve. I want to give a shout out to them. And all you cosplayers out there, just keep it positive, keep it fun. Make sure you keep it fun.
Yes.
All you photographers, make sure that you understand that what you have is a time machine. You also have a healing device, and your words and your actions have great power on people. So just remember that you have great power and great responsibility to sound like Uncle Ben, you know, for sure. And just, you know, I'm just really waiting to see when we're going to be able to get back, you know, and start to meet in person and have these conversations in person and be at conventions. But want to make sure that everybody, you know, wears the mask and keeps everything, you know, safe, so that we don't have any more, you know, loss of life.
Yes.
And that's it. Shout out to my wife and my daughter.
Yes.
I want to shout out to them.
Yes, y'all listen to Dr. Law, act right, so we can get back to somewhat normal. So we can stop losing people, so we can have normal fun, so we can, like, I don't want to go back to Dragon Con unless I can be unmasked and give you and everybody else a big behind hug, okay? So y'all act right so we can do that. Ooh.
That is right.
Cool. Dr. Law, where can they follow you, find you at, all of that?
Sure. We are just on Facebook. We are DRLAW''S Photo Lab. On Instagram, we are just all one word, Dr. Law's Photo Lab, and the same thing on Twitter. The podcast that we were talking about is the Stuff We Love, Stuff We Hate podcast. It can be found on SoundCloud. It can be found on Apple and Google podcasts, as well as we have a video a version on YouTube that you can check out as well. So, and we look forward to having you on, you know, too, Myron, coming up.
Man, I'm ready for it. I'm ready. Cool. With that is it, y'all. Y'all have a good night. Have a good time, whatever con you're going to next. Good luck on your cosplay builds. Y'all hit that like button, that subscribe button, that share button. Do the same thing for Dr. Law. I will have all those links and sites that he mentioned in the description below. So y'all show him some love, show Jeffrey and Latoya some love, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.
All right, peace.